Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday night, and you know that only means one thing, the best thing. It's Chappy and Arnie, fantasy sports at its very best. Chappy, do you notice the shirt I have on tonight? I was tired of getting grief from the Hat Man, so I wore King Hap's shirt tonight. I guess he'll be happy. But you see the universe we're in behind me, right?
Yeah.
The universe. And it's such a great night because in Yankee Stadium, as we speak, there's a pitcher and he's dealing, Chappy.
Yeah.
He's dealing, and you
Yeah.
know who it is. Number 47.
Well, we've talked about it for a couple weeks now, right? It's not been all biscuits and gravy, but it's about time that Jordan Montgomery started looking like we said he was going to everybody a couple weeks back, right?
Of course, now as I speak, Azuna hits a 3-run bomb in the 6th, and it cuts the Yankee lead to 8-3. But up until that point, you had two great, potentially great rookie pitchers, Jordan Montgomery and Touki Toussaint, and Touki just didn't have it tonight against the Yankee Bats.
Now, I called it at 7 o'clock tonight. I said Touki was due for a bad game, and he came through.
Bryce Wilson came in.
Couldn't find a plate.
And Judge took him out. I mean, so that's the way it goes, right?
Yeah, quick, right?
Right field, and he put a dent. They showed it on television. Judge's homer puts a dent in the foam padding in the outfield wall.
Yeah, that homer was going places.
Yeah.
He had a date.
And how about the Blue Jays with a home game tonight?
Yeah, I haven't, been on there. I didn't get a chance to see it, but, interesting. I was listening to some of the Negro League lineage that they have in Buffalo, and I thought that was pretty cool. So, any chance you get to see a different city in a different venue, I think that's neat. So, plus the Blue Jays are fun to watch.
And to give you an update on that one, Chappy, we're going into the 8th inning. It's Toronto 4, Miami 1. Bo Bichette, a 3-run homer. The opening day. There you go. Let's hear some Bo Bichette love. How about that? King Hap, only a matter of time, right?
Yeah. King Hap was going to cut him on last week's show. I begged him not to. Cut Bo Bichette. I begged him not to. There's
a reason why this is the Chappy and Arnie hour and not the Chappy and King Hap hour, right? Don't go cutting Bo Bichette, boys. I'm telling you.
I mean, and it's funny because at 7 o'clock I was talking about you can't let these guys linger. If someone's not performing, Willie Calhoun, you got to cut bait. But you can't cut bait on a guy like Bo Bichette. You have to give him a chance because he is truly a 5-tool player. And there's not many of those.
And his average is now up to 286. He's hitting second in that order. He's 1 for 4 tonight with that 3-run homer. Leading off tonight, Biggio is 2 for 4.
He's a stud.
His average was in the 170s a few days ago.
Yeah.
Now I know it's only 214, but he's starting to hit. And don't you love that left-right combination 1-2 in Toronto, those young kids? I love it. I think they're going to score a bunch of runs.
I do too. And I'll tell you, we both talked about Lourdes as well. I think Lourdes is one of the most underrated players in the majors. So you talking about 1, 2, 3 with those guys and the ages of those players, you're looking at, 22, 23, 25 years old. I just, to me, that's as potent as a 1, 2, 3 in the game that there is potentially. The surprise to me is Biggio. I knew Biggio was good. I didn't realize he's going to be quite as good as he has been and potentially looks to be. What are your thoughts on Gavin?
I like him at the top of that order, Chappy. I think for fantasy and reality, your job as a leadoff hitter is to watch as many pitches, take as many pitches, figure out what's going on. I think it's going to make him a better overall hitter hitting in that leadoff spot because he's going to be more selective than he might be hitting down in the order, even in the 3 or 5 hole. Right. So I think it's going to be good long-term for Gavin to hit that leadoff spot. And then, of course, you got Bichette and Lourdes right behind you. Yeah. I think it's a keg getting ready to go off, and his average is going up about 30 points in the last 3 or 4 days.
Well, and I think the other part to that, Arnie, is, and for as much guff as we've given him over the past month, we all know Vladimir's going to hit. I mean, it's just a matter of time. Yes, he's not in the best shape, but Guerrero's going to hit. So you talk about the top end of that lineup. Tell me why they can't make a deep run, Arn.
Well, and the pitching is better than advertised, Chappy.
Pearson's amazing.
He's amazing. I got 2 of his PSA 10s now, too. He's amazing. They pick up the pitcher, the staff in the offseason. They get Ryu from the Dodgers. Shoemaker's not a bad pitcher.
No.
And, they're good enough. 8 teams make the playoffs. They're good enough to make one of those 8 slots.
Have you sat down and watched Pearson pitch yet?
Yes.
I'll tell you what I took away from watching him the other night. It's funny. The good ones just make a pop, right? They just have a different sound. I've never seen a pitcher with bite on a slider the way his does. It has such a late, sharp break. You can see where it might be his best pitch. And we're talking about a kid who's throwing 99 miles an hour.
He's got 2 put-away pitches. That fastball is a put-away, and that slider is a put-away.
So gross.
And when you have 2 nasty put-away pitches, that's not that you don't see that very often. And here he's got 2.
Yeah.
Much less just 1. I got to make a comment. Mike Harrington, a.k.a. King Hap, is telling me how handsome I look tonight. Well, my comment is, King Hap, I always look good. I mean, nothing's changed. Are you kidding me? So, Chappy, a couple things. I'm watching the Cubs and the Indians tonight. It was a night where Mike Clevenger was scheduled to be the starting pitcher. He was to square off against John Lester in what early in the season would be a game of aces. Right. Well, we know what happened this weekend. He's now on the restricted list, is Clevenger. He can't come back until a minimum of Friday. Meanwhile, the Little Bears, 6. The Tribe, 0. How much of an impact, Chappy, does the lack of maturity on Plesac and Clevenger's part affect what had been a tremendous start to a season for this pitching staff?
Well, it just, like I said earlier, in essence, every game's 3 games. So you're talking about it, even if it's just a start each for Plesac and Clevenger, you're talking about 6 games. It's huge when you're talking about as tight a margins as we're going to be dealing with. So I'll tell you, I cuss every night because I know I've told you I have MLB.com, and the Cubs are blacked out here. I don't get to watch the Cubs ever. But I'll tell you, it doesn't mean I'm not following them. Obviously, I'm a huge Cubs fan. What I love the David Ross move. And the thing I like about David Ross is all of those pitchers have just done what we've all known that they can do. And now they're talking about getting Jose Quintana back and him coming out of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Arnie, I see him as a closer or at least a leverage guy for this team. And I think that's a good thing because Ross just has a way to talk to pitchers. And I think that's why you see so many of these managers as former catchers these days. They just have a way to talk to these pitchers and get them to understand approach, consistency, repetition. And that's what it's all about, right?
And it's a buy-in that the Cubs are doing. They're buying into David Ross's philosophy. I mean, you look at the score tonight, 6-0. I mean, look, the starting pitcher for Cleveland, he went 4 innings, only gave up 1 run.
Yeah.
The Cubs are getting those, what I'm going to call late 90 Yankee at-bats.
Yeah.
They lean
on you.
they're wearing pitchers down.
Yeah.
Getting to that bullpen.
Yep.
That's where they're buying into the philosophy. It can be a different hero every night. That's where this is a team to be reckoned with.
Yes.
It's not a one-person,
Right.
one-man gang. The Cubs, to me, I think, run away with the Central. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close if St. Louis had played more than 5 games.
Right.
I just don't think the Cardinals have the firepower, even if they were playing games right now. The Cubs just find a different way every night, and I think they see it working. Why not buy in, right?
Yeah, Dave Ross, like I said, I just can't say enough how impressed I am with Dave Ross, and I knew I would be. The thing about that, to your point, the 90s at-bat for the Yankees, they lean on you. And it's funny because when you have guys like Schwarber and Rizzo and Bryant and even Happ, and, of course, my affinity for Contreras, when you have those guys and you're facing a worn-down pitcher, they're going to pounce. They're going to score a lot of runs that way. And what that does is, like you said, it takes pressure off of all of those other guys. I think it's really tough because everybody knows how good the Dodgers are. The Cubs might be the second best team in the National League.
Well, and we, if they're not, the Padres, I think are. I think
Right.
The Padres record may not show it,
Right.
but I like the Padres better than I like the Rockies right now. And I got to bring this up because we've held off. We've not talked about him. I'm going to come back to the Cubs in just a moment. I tell you what, let's finish with the Cubs. I'm looking at the box score, Chappy. Here's what's interesting. On a game where they lead 6-0, no hits from the leadoff man, Chris Bryant, no hits from the second batter, Rizzo. But look at from 3 on down. Baez, he's got a base hit and scored a run. Schwarber, a hit and a run. Contreras, a hit and a run. Happ, a hit and a run. You see where I'm going with this. Hayward, 2 for 3 with a home run. Kipnis, 1 for 2 with a double. I mean, it's like
death by a million cuts.
Pressure all the way down the order. And look, when your 9-hitter, Jason Kipnis, who is healthy, is hitting 389, that's something to be said for a team. What a ball player.
Yeah, and who did I tell you about in the offseason, Arnie? Who's the DH tonight for the Cubs?
DH tonight is Caratini.
And what's he doing? How's he doing this year?
He's not doing it tonight, but he's hitting 286 on the year.
Yeah.
That's after an 0 for 3 tonight, so he's probably hitting around 295, 297 before the night started.
Right. So that's one of those things where people don't realize the luxury that you have when you have 2 capable catchers, and you can rest a guy like Wilson Contreras. That adds a lot of life to his bat.
It's now 6-1. Cleveland just scored a run in the bottom of the 6th. But here's the point I'd like to make about the Cubs before I move on to this guy I got to talk about. I'm dying to talk about him, but here we go. How many 2-out RBIs have the Cubs had tonight of their 6 runs? How many came with 2 outs? Just take a guess.
All of them.
4. 3-run homer by Jason Hayward. And here's a player we've talked about. I love him. And he's not batting 9th tonight. He's not batting 8th. He's not batting 7th.
Yeah.
He's moved up to 6th in the order. And his manager has said, David Ross, he is my center fielder. And when the manager says that, you pick him up in fantasy, you put him in your lineup, and that is the one and the only Ian Happ.
Called him a star, if I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't he call him a star or an all-star?
Called him a star, called him the best center fielder on the team.
Yeah.
And said he's playing every day.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, we've talked about it. I know you and I have talked about it. I've talked about it on my show. It's been about opportunity for Happ. He had a little road bump year before last, but when you project his numbers out for a full season, he's hitting around 30 homers. You'll take that out of your center fielder with potentially double-digit stolen bases, right?
And look, Contreras hitting fifth tonight's hitting 326 on the year. Happ hitting sixth is hitting 308 on the year. And what I'm impressed about, as much as the average with Ian Happ, when you look at his line tonight, yeah, he's got the 2-out RBI. Awesome. He's got the run scored. But also, no strikeouts tonight and a walk. That, to me, shows you what? It shows you he is watching the baseball.
Right.
His mind is on the game.
Right.
And the Cubs are winning as a result of it. What a team. Let's talk about the Padres. But I want to talk about a player I've asked you to hold off on. You've obliged me, Chappy. The Padres have two stud pitchers right now. I think we'd agree, right?
Yeah.
The question is, when does the third one make his appearance? I think it's sooner than later. The Padres are a playoff team. And now my question is, when does Wonder Boy Mackenzie Gore make his appearance?
Well, I think we're on borrowed time. I mean, honestly, I think it could be as soon as tomorrow. It's basically as soon as the need comes up because, honestly, that guy's probably the second best pitcher right now. He and Paddock are 1 and 1A in my opinion. He's poised. He's ready to go. There's no reason really not to have him up at this point. As far as prospects that are on the verge, I think that he's the most ready, and it's really just it doesn't make sense as to why he's not up right now. They brought up Patino last week or used him out of relief. I believe they either are getting ready to start him or have started him. I think they're getting ready to start him for a fill-in game. Why not bring out Gore and just show everybody that talent that he has?
Well, Patino pitched his second game in relief. I think it was, was it Sunday? And for his second outing, it was just as bad as his first. I don't think he's a relief pitcher.
Right.
They went with, I think it's Perdomo going tonight.
Yes, that's right.
And so that tells me, okay, that's the Lucchese spot.
Yeah.
So they're going to start Perdomo tonight. The best thing that can happen for the Padres tonight is for the bullpen by committee game to blow up.
Right.
And let Gore come back and fill that role.
Yeah.
And I think it happens as early as this weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree because, that's something that really you have to take into account here. San Diego's contending. And in this truncated season, you really can't hold on to prospects who you feel like can deliver, even if they're going to get dinged up a couple times, which I don't think he's going to. I look at him right along the same tiers as Pearson. I think those are the two, and then Howard is probably the third in this rookie class, and then Mize and Manning closely after that.
So you're taking Luzardo out of that group, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Luzardo doesn't count. Luzardo, I don't know if you watched him the other night. That kid's an ace right now.
No doubt.
Now he might have hiccups, but the stuff that he's working with, he looks like a 10-year vet. I mean, he just needs to work up his arm strength. He is legitimate.
So if the Padres bring up Gore, we already know they have the MVP candidate leading off for them. What a season Tatis Jr. is having. I mean, it's out of sight. And the thing about the Padres, they in the offseason make a trade with Tampa Bay. They get a new center fielder who's only hitting 220, Tommy Pham. Imagine when Tommy Pham's batting average gets up to Tommy Pham numbers on this Padre team. Hosmer's back now from injury. Your boy's still down on the farm on the taxi squad. What I'm getting at is the Padres have not really peaked as a team yet.
No.
When they bring these guys in, I see the Padres challenging the Dodgers. I really do. I think they got the tools to do it, not in the future, but now.
Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know how much of you watched. This Cronenworth kid's a good ball player.
And he plays everywhere.
Yes.
And they're saying he's going to play second base.
He played second last night.
He doesn't look like a second baseman. He looks like a stick out there, but he can hit.
Yeah, he has a really good eye at the plate. I really like that kid. Now, I don't think he'll ever be a superstar, but he's certainly right now he's fantasy viable.
And that infield now with him at second, Manny's having a good season at third.
He sure is.
And that's I don't think that gets enough attention. He did not have a good year last year.
Right.
Machado is having a Machado season this year to go along with Tatis, to go along with Pham. That outfield is really good in San Diego. It may be the most underrated outfield, I think, in the major leagues.
Grisham's a ball player.
No doubt. What a trade.
Yeah, he's a ball player.
What was Milwaukee thinking?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Milwaukee's a weird, players either love it or hate it in Milwaukee. There's no in between,
Yeah. Well, Yelich is finally starting to come around, it looks like, which we knew would happen.
Hire as well. Hire is playing well.
Yeah, and Braun came off the IL tonight. So that bat back in that lineup. Garcia's still not coming around for them, Chappy. And until Avisel starts to hit, I think Milwaukee's going to be missing that. So, but their pitching has been better than advertised, I think. I think they're the only right now. The Pirates are not going to challenge in the Central. The Cardinals are not going to challenge. The Reds have been a major disappointment, and to me they have. And the Cubs now, the only competition I see there is potentially Milwaukee and a hot Christian Yelich. But I think Avisel's got to turn it on, give him some kind of backup out there.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about Luis Urias at 7 o'clock. He's kind of a wild card, kind of one of those post-hype sleeper type players. Looking like he might benefit from the universal DH with Higuera moving some to the DH and Urias playing at second. He does have a high average that they'll need to lead on him some. But aside from that, you really do have to wonder. They've got some good arms, but consistency's bit them. Peralta, Corbin have been up and down. Woodruff had a shaky night last night, but he's looked pretty good most of the time. Hauser's looked pretty good. This Lindblom kid, I don't know from Jack. So we'll just see. I mean, again, it's an uphill battle in that division. And, again, for me personally, I think the Reds are still the other contender in that league. But just because of the front end of the rotation with Gray, Castillo, and Bauer, and the way they're capable of hitting the ball. If you're going to Cincinnati, they're going to be tough to deal with.
The thing with the Reds that really concerns me maybe three things. And let's talk about those just a moment. And let's take them one at a time. First of all, the Reds are not a group that have played together very long.
Right.
Second, the Reds are not used to being the top dog. They're not used to getting a team's best shot every night. They're going to get that this year because the talk has been on my show, your show, the Reds are a team to contend.
Right.
And now teams are taking them as contenders, not as pretenders. And then finally, and it can get better, Chappy. It's got to get better, Chappy. That bullpen is in shambles right now. And until that bullpen gets better, you can pitch great for 7 innings. Yeah. But if the last 2 you suck, you're not going to win many games.
Can I add a fourth?
Please.
Their defense sucks. Their defense is terrible. Think about their defense. You got a third baseman playing at second base. You got a shortstop. Galvis is a good shortstop, granted, but he's not been the most consistent defensively this year. Suarez is coming off of a back surgery, so he's not 100%. That's going to affect his defense. I mean, the defensively, Nick Castellanos is a hole in right field.
No doubt.
It's trouble. It's trouble. And when you're in these close games down the stretch, the teams that you're playing against that are contenders are going to play defense.
And doesn't it always seem to happen? The ball will find the worst defender.
It always found me, Arn.
Can't you just see a tight game, late in the game, and a sinking line drive tailing away from Castellanos?
Yep.
and how he plays that. I mean, I know he was player of the week 1. There's no doubt the bat hits. And in fantasy,
in that
he's
park
a great
it
asset.
does. In that park it plays.
Oh, man, but he can't catch a cold in wintertime. He can't catch a cold in wintertime walking naked in Central Park.
During an epidemic.
I mean, it's the way it is. Okay, I want to jump ship here with you tonight. I want to talk about two teams, and this short season. Tonight is a lot of teams' 15th game, Chappy. You know what that means?
Quarter of the season.
Okay, and two teams that one of these two teams are playing each other tonight. I had written off before the season started. I said there are 3 teams in the major leagues who have no chance of making the playoffs, and the Orioles. Coming to tonight, 7-7. They were trailing the Phillies 3-0, heading into the 7th inning. They now lead the Phillies 5-3, going into the 9th. Listen to these averages, and I want you to tell me how you feel about these players for fantasy. These are Baltimore Orioles. Let's save the best for last. What about someone like Nunez? Nunez, who is hitting .293. Renato plays third base. He has 5 home runs on this early season, and his OPS is 1.017. So, Phil Chaplin, how do you feel about Renato Nunez being your third baseman in a fantasy league this year?
I got him in daily tonight, Arnie Jones.
Once again, I'll lead you to the water and you can drink.
I'm going to like this game. Let's keep going.
Okay, so we'll give you another one.
Two for 3 tonight with a run and RBI. Hit a double, right?
And late in the game when it's clutch time.
Yep.
Off of Zach Wheeler, Lenny Melnick Cy Young winner in 2020.
Yep. Who else you going to talk about, Jonesy?
How about Anthony Santander, baby? In 63 at-bats, a .270 average, 3 homers, 15 RBIs. Is he a yes or is he a guess in fantasy this year?
I got him on my stack again tonight. Santander and Nunez so far 2 for 4 with a run and RBI as well. 2 for 2 on this game, buddy.
How about, let me give you a couple more. I mean, these are Orioles. How about another third baseman, Rio Ruiz? .270 average, 3 homers, an .889 OPS. Hit or miss in fantasy, Phil Chaplin?
I don't have him in my stack tonight, Arnie. I got to tell you that. But I am definitely hit on this. I'll tell you, and it really kind of the Orioles 1 through 4 is shaping up to be a pretty formidable group. And we're not even talking about some of these guys who we thought we might be talking about early. Guys like Austin Hayes, guys like Ryan Mountcastle. I think it's interesting, and it shapes up well for the Orioles in the future. Not distant future, this year.
This year, they're 7-7. They win tonight, they're 8-7. Their top 4 hitters tonight, Chaplin, 7 for 15. With 4 runs scored and 4 RBIs. And I haven't even yet mentioned, drum roll please, or at least imagine it, Hanser Alberta, who's hitting .343 with a .915 OPS, a stolen base. Tell me he's in your stack tonight, Phil Chaplin.
He is in my stack. He is the third. I paired those guys up with Alex Cobb tonight. I haven't looked at my scores, but hopefully it's working out, brother. Hopefully it's working out. Just like you drew it up, right? Just like you drew it up.
Cobb went 5 1/3, gave up 2 earned, 2 walks, 2 Ks. Nothing spectacular, but nothing that horrible either.
Well, that's the thing that's the thing about DFS. When you play a guy like Cobb, you need your offense to perform, because it's not about Cobb giving you all these points. It's about him not killing you. It's about him giving you 15 to 20 points, and then other guys Guys like your Aaron Judges, guys like your Mike Trouts, guys like your Juan Sotos filling in behind it, because that's what you're trying to get when you run those stacks.
I just love the Orioles. So, after tonight, let's assume, maybe, that the Orioles hang on. I know I'm jumping the gun talking about the Orioles, but that would make the Phillies 5-7. 5-7 is a losing record last I checked. Are you concerned about the Phillies in reality, first of all, Chaplain?
I don't know if concerned is the right word. I don't know that the Phillies are that good. I've never been a big Nola fan. Outside of, I do like Spencer Howard, but outside of that, I just don't trust the rest of that staff. Sure, they can hit the ball, but I wonder about, when it comes down to it, how good of a complete team they really are. The thing that they have going for them, Arnie, who's running away with that division?
No one.
Exactly. So you're looking at a Braves team that probably has the most talent. The defending National World Series champions, who are right there with them, may have more talent than Atlanta, but they're not as deep in the farm system anyway. But neither of those teams are living up to expectations at this point. So Philly's got as good a chance as anybody, up to and including the Marlins, Arnie. I know that sounds nuts.
Another team I had written off before the season started, along with the Orioles, but Chappy, they got a chance. Here's the thing. Washington's 5-7 coming into tonight. They're leading the Mets 2-1. The Phillies are going to go to 5-8 after tonight. Listen to these averages, Chappy. McCutchen, your leadoff hitter. He's hitting a robust 147. Hoskins, your second hitter, hitting even stronger than that at 171. Let's continue along the progression. Gene Segura, your third baseman, former leadoff hitter, is whopping it at 176. Lenny's boy, Scott Kingery, is at a paltry 105. Jay Bruce is hitting 226. That's kind of what we expect out of Jay Bruce.
Yeah.
I've just given you 4 hitters that play every day whose highest batting average is 176. No wonder the Phillies have a losing record.
Well, and if they're in a division where they have, if they're in the Central, if they're in the West, they're out of it. They're out of it.
Right.
But they're afforded the luxury of being in a division where no one wants it. So it, in its own weird way, it's shaping up to be a really good race between those 3 teams.
Miami
Who can get their crap together, right?
Yeah, they're all even the Mets, first to last, they're all within 3.5 games of each other entering tonight.
And none of them are any good, Arn.
They all suck.
Yeah.
And look, the Braves, decimated by injury, no doubt. But it's part of the game in 2020. Yeah. The Phillies can't hit, and you've touched on it. I'm not really feeling great about their pitching either. The Nats haven't done a great job of either so far. I heard Lenny say this morning, their game last night, they scored 31% of their runs on the season in the game that they played last night. And tonight they're killing it again, scoring 2 runs against the Mets. And one of those came as a leadoff home run from your boy. So there's just not a team, and the Mets are just a mess. I mean, when will we ever stop drinking the Kool-Aid and let's just admit that the Mets will screw up whatever is put before them? They seem to find a way, don't they, Chappy? If it's not internal, it's external. I mean, you go from losing 2 star pitchers. I got it. Now your 4th starter opts out.
Right.
So whether it's injury or opts out, they've lost their pitching staff except for DeGrom. And frankly, what they've got to fill in is just fodder.
Peterson's a good pitcher.
He is. They've hit some gold there. The bullpen has been awful, inconsistent. Maybe it's
Matz is inconsistent.
Matz is horrible.
Yeah, he'll be good for an inning, and then he'll give up 8 runs.
Their best hitter is on the IL, Cano, and Rosario has forgotten how to play.
Whoa. Let me stop you. Their best hitter's at first base.
Average-wise.
I'm sorry. Pete Alonso's their best player. That's the guy they really need to get behind. Now, I like J.D. Davis. I like his approach. I like what he brings to the plate. I like Jeff McNeil. I really like this Jimenez kid.
Playing great, isn't he?
I mean, he's just a spark plug. So even there, it's not all bad. But I totally agree. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot. You look at, I don't know, one of the shows, Simeon Richardson and Anthony Kay letting both of those guys go. They could use both of those guys right now in their rotation for a guy that opted out.
Right.
And they're going to lose free agency.
No doubt.
They gave those guys away for nothing.
They're a mess, the Mets. They should be the New York Mets, not the New York Mets. Change the T for an S. I think you'd have it. It's every year is something with that crowd. Look, you're right. Let me go back. Their first baseman is their best player, but so far this year, until he got hurt, Cano was their best hitter, and he's 37 years old.
Yeah.
Look, Conforto's a star in the making.
Yes.
Alonso and Conforto are the cornerstones on that team.
And J.D. Davis. J.D. Davis is there too, Arnie.
Put those three, let the young kid who came up, let him play.
Yep.
Build around that.
What happens to Rosario when Dubon comes up?
He's gone.
I think he moves the outfield.
I think he loses confidence, and I wonder if next year he's even starting for the Mets. Yeah. I think it's such a mind game with that kid.
Yeah.
Take him. He can be really, really good, and like the girl with the curl, he can be really, really bad. Yeah. And he's in one of those bad funks. And, you talked earlier about the manager for the Cubs. And I just wonder if the Mets could ever find that right manager. Maybe they had it before Beltran screwed up, okay? We all screw up, right? I think they had their manager in Carlos Beltran. I think he could have brought out the best in these young players, and I think the Mets could have turned the corner. And then what happened with Beltran happened with Beltran. But I tell you what, if these other guys who were involved, like Joey Cora and so on, are given another chance, why can't Beltran be given that chance back with the Mets? I think it's their best chance to contend and contend quick.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some work to do in the minor league system. I mean, that's for sure. They've depleted a lot of their pitching prospects. But, you get, like you say, you got to like their cornerstone, their bedrocks, those 3 players. I really do believe with Dubon coming up, the pitching staff is still relatively young. Pitchers age a little bit later. So I like what the Mets. The Mets should be an easy turnaround, given to the right hands.
I want to ask you a question. We know what's going on in St. Louis. Help me out here. I'm playing the role of casual baseball fan. And I've been reading articles as a casual fan out of interest, intrigue. I've watched some games. I've kind of got this feeling for the Marlins because, all of these players I read about being or coming down with corona, and they had to go out and pick up players off the free agent market, off the waiver market, just to field a team. Kind of made me have these warm fuzzy for the Marlins. I'm just a casual fan, remind you, Chappy.
Right.
They played games. They were back on the field within a week.
Right.
Why can't the Cardinals do that? I'm a casual fan. Help me with that one.
Well, I mean, at least for me, and again, the toughest part is how these testings are rolling in, right? So the expediency of the timing of the testing, you might get one today and another tomorrow, and then you might get 4, and then you might get 6, and then the next thing you know, you're out indefinitely. And all of those guys have to come back up for you to be able to field that team. These guys have to quarantine. It's just, I mean, it's a convoluted mess for sure. But fact is, the Cardinals are really in a precarious position because when they come back up, they're going to be playing double headers pretty much half the
Every
time.
day.
Yeah, I mean, so they got to make up 15 games, which isn't going to be easy for them. And then you throw on the difficulty there is the pitching, right? And St. Louis is in a good position because they've got some pitching depth that they can kind of mask that a little bit, but it's still going to be tough for them because when you're playing 3 double headers in a row, that's a full week's worth of pitchers in 3 days. It's going to be tough to recover from that, and it's going to be tough to manage that. So, it's really going to be interesting to see how that takes place and how that shakes down. And then you throw in the fact that, the wear and tear that it takes on your players and your catchers and your coaches. You're going to have to bring, Yadi Molina's, 38 years old. So you're going to have to bring another catcher up just to kind of cover the fact that he's aged a bit. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of shift in thought there.
So with Jack Flaherty, fantasy pitching darling, probably picked, could be a first-round draft pick in a deep league, certainly a second-round pick this year. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Cy Young candidate, probably before the season started. You would say Flaherty clearly one of the best 5 starting pitchers in the National League, correct?
Yep.
What does we know? Well, let me rephrase that. We know that pitching and baseball in general is about routine, is about timing, creatures of habit.
Yeah.
You get where I'm going.
Yeah.
They haven't played a game since July 29th.
Yeah.
Not one game. Are you fearful for Flaherty's health, shoulder, arm, elbow, legs, whatever, with the time that is left, trying to do too much, too soon, and too often? Or are you not? And do you think this doubleheader stuff might benefit a Jack Flaherty? Because remember, a complete game is only 7 innings.
That's a really interesting question.
Hey, I give you the good ones and the tough ones, right? That's what makes this show the best one. This is the best show on fantasy sports. You got it. So tell me what you think about that.
Well, I think that if it were me, I always love starting that. If it were me, that'd be the one guy that I'd be protecting. So, like I said, St. Louis is blessed with some good depth. They're blessed with some good young arms down on the farm, and they're able to kind of work around that, right? Were I the coach, I would have, as soon as this all went down, I would have Jack Flaherty would be my sole focus, and I would be doing everything in my power to make sure that he stayed on as close to a routine as you can have in a situation like that. He'd be going out every 5th day, and he'd be pitching his 70, 80 pitches in a simulated game. I would want to keep him on his rotation. Now, aside from that, you look at the rest of that rotation. You're talking about Adam Wainwright. He's been around for 82 years. You're talking about Dakota Hudson. Not the most prized possession in the world. Definitely a serviceable pitcher, but someone who, was used in relief some last year, is certainly used to being flexible, right? You got Kwon Young Kim. We all know that he was going to be the closer before all this went down. You got guys like Carlos Martinez, Ponce de Leon. my point, Arnie, is if I were approaching this, Flaherty would be my main and only concern about my pitching staff. I would tell the rest of the guys to be ready on the flip of a coin because who knows what we're going to have. But I would center every fifth day around that being a Jack Flaherty day. And to your point, it being a 7-inning game, I'd tell him, son, be ready to go the distance.
And he can do it.
We need you to help our bullpen today.
I think the thing that is encouraging to me about Flaherty is we're into the hot summer months now.
Right.
You're not going to have any cold weather concerns. So I think that part of it I'm not concerned about. The thing that's alarming to me, I forgot the numbers, Chappy. You may know them. But they were saying 15 games into the season last year, there were like 25 pitcher injuries. And this year, my numbers may be off, but it's like 3 times that amount.
Right.
Now, I think that's attributable to 2020 baseball. But the Cardinals are the poster boys for 2020 baseball now.
Right.
I mean, they've not played. You've never had a rainout that lasted from July 29 through August the 10th until now. And they may not play this weekend. So if the Cardinals don't start back until next Monday, which my calendar says will be the 17th of August, they will have gone 20 days, almost 3 weeks, without playing a single game.
That's tough. That's tough. And
look at their schedule. Their first 3 weeks were their easiest. Excuse me, Pirates fans. They were their easiest. It was the easiest part of their schedule.
Right.
After the third week, the Cardinals have some really tough games.
Yeah.
And they're going to be playing tough teams whose batters have now had a chance to catch up with the pitching, whereas their batters
stay in rhythm.
Creatures of habit, you're right. And the Cardinal batters are going to be lost for a little while.
No, I mean, I hear what you're saying. And again, the fact that you're going to be playing doubleheaders at a higher rate, you're going to be playing doubleheaders for series upon series upon series, whereas, the other team comes in, has 3 doubleheaders, but, they'll be in the midst of 3 sets of doubleheaders in 4 series. So it'll be one of those things where attrition will wear them down, I think.
So here's where I'm going with this. I'm going to make an assumption that the taxi squad players have been playing simulated games. Wouldn't you assume that?
You would think, if they can.
They are more timing-wise ready for action. And you've got a St. Louis Cardinal player on the taxi squad by the name of Dylan Carlson. Don't you think, as a fantasy owner, if Dylan Carlson is available in your fantasy league, you turn off Chappy, who's handsome wearing his pirate cap. You turn off Arnie, who's maybe not as handsome wearing his king cap shirt. And you go add Dylan Carlson right now. Is that a winner or a loser for fantasy 2020?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I'll go a step further. I plan on playing him at DFS as soon as he's called up because you're absolutely right. He is one of those guys that's been able to stay in rhythm. He is one of those high-end players who, really honestly, probably all things being even, should have made the Major League roster way back in March. So, I'm definitely with you on the Carlson analysis, and we'll be using him at a $2,400 rate on DFS for as long as they let me.
And I think if okay, so let me ask this. I know you and I we try to study this stuff. We do the best we can with the information that we receive. I know you and I both, we go to various different sources to get all our information, whether it be a local paper or wherever. But don't you think the Cardinals, as soon as they say play ball in St. Louis, I think Carlson's up. They play 5 games. They got to play 7 to get past this extra year of arbitration kind of thing.
Right.
So we're 2 games away if my math is right. After 2 games, Carlson is up and he stays and he plays. That's my prediction.
You have to play him. I totally agree. You have to play him, and he deserves to play. I just, where he plays isn't important. I imagine you hit him in the middle of that lineup because, in all honesty, you need that offense, right? And you need that bat more than anything.
How about leading him off?
Sure. Why not? I mean, it's not been a great experiment with Edmonds or Wong thus far. So yeah, why not?
Just a thought.
Yeah, sure.
Let me go to the West Coast with you, if I will.
Yes, please.
And can we talk about the Oakland A's for just a moment?
Yes, please.
Because I know you love the A's. I know you love what they do. I know you love the players. But I want to talk about some bad news first. Suspensions came out today. Did you hear the suspensions?
Yes, I did.
Laureano, 6 games.
I thought it was 5.
I heard 6. Let's go with 5. The bench coach for Houston, 20 games.
Oh.
He should be fired, okay?
Never allowed to coach again.
Never. Dusty should fire him yesterday.
Yeah. And pardon my language, what a chicken shit hiding behind those 3 players. I mean,
exactly.
What a spineless SOB.
I don't suspend Laureano any.
No.
I mean, put people at my former job, Chappy. I put people in prison for life. I don't give Laureano even probation.
Right.
I mean, you talk about a setup of setups. You talk about an overreaction.
Antagonization completely.
Come on. I think how cool will this be? He appeals. He wins. He never misses a game.
Yeah. That'd be great.
So look at Oakland. They're not even hitting yet, Chappy. I got to look at some of these numbers. And I just got to talk to you
Hold
about
on. I got to say one thing. Because I thought you were going to give me a little credit here. Because you were quick to give me guff a couple weeks ago when Matt Chapman couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about my boy Chappy tonight.
Let you have it. You got the floor, baby.
I mean, I tell you, I've watched them the last 3 nights, and you want to talk about seeing it as good as anybody in baseball. This guy's as hot as anybody in baseball, and that's Charlie Blackmon and Mike Trout included. This is the player that we all thought we'd see. He's the guy that's leading this offensive slump for Oakland. Olson's starting to come out as well right now too. So you talking about what they've done without those guys performing, and now you're looking at Chapman with 4 homers in 3 nights.
9 for his last 19. He got out tonight, so he's 9 for his last 20. That's a 450 clip with 4 homers, 10 RBIs. That's right, and 5 runs scored.
Love it. He is so much fun to watch. I'll tell you. I've become. I told you my Cubs were blacked out. I've become a big A's fan just from watching them every night. Watching Chapman and Olson is a treat, and we all should do it.
And I'm looking at other players, and frankly, no one else is really hot right now for Oakland. You got Piscotty, 2 for his last 12.
Yeah.
Laureano is 1 for his last 10.
How's Semien? He seems like he's been hitting.
Not really. Semien is 4 for his last 13. So that's 308. That's better.
Yeah.
1 home run. That was against Houston on last weekend. Olson's still inconsistent. He's 1 for his last 8, but that one was a 3-run homer.
Right.
He's hitting 155. Look, Olson's hitting 155 and has 5 home runs and 13 ribs.
Right.
What if that average gets up 100 points?
And it will. It will.
He's got more RBIs than Chapman.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
five.
And so tell me about some pitching stats, Arn, and then let's talk about why the A's have been so good.
I tell you, I got to talk about Frankie Montas first.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Montas; he's sitting at 2-1, a 1.57 ERA, a 1.00 WHIP. Look what he's done his last 2 games: 14 innings pitched, Chappy, only 6 hits allowed, only 1 earned run, and 14 strikeouts. And in his last game, no walks. Pretty good. What do you think?
You know, I mean, he was turning in the A's last year before he got his PED suspension. And you know, I mean, I know what everybody says when they get that 80 games. I know the perception there, right? But it really was kind of fluky with him. So I fully anticipated him coming back to full strength. And the great thing about that is everybody in that staff, like, they just have to be one of 5. Even Chris Bassett has been really, really good.
But look, Jack Diekman. You know Jack Diekman?
Yeah.
In the month of August, out of the bullpen. The month of August, he's pitched 5 innings for Oakland, given up 1 hit.
Right.
Struck out 5, only 2 walks, no earned runs. On the season, his ERA sits at 0.00.
Yeah.
But that's just part of this bullpen.
Right.
Liam Hendricks, the closer, in the month of August, he's only given up 1 earned run in 6 innings.
Right.
You talk about Bassett, his last outing, his last 2 outings, 14.2 innings and only 2 earned runs. I mean, tell me a weak link in that staff. I don't see it.
Right now it's Manea, but you know that's not going to be the case. You also know that Puck is coming back at some point, and that'll only bolster that bullpen role. But then you also have to throw in, you know, I botched it earlier. The two rookie pitchers. One of them's Kaperlin, the former Yankee, and the other kid, Robert Passan. Is that it? I mean, you're talking about 2 kids that are on the verge of major league impact. To add to what is this 7-man rotation? What does that do?
Caprillion throws 99 miles an hour, Chappy.
Yeah. What does that do to a rotation and a confidence knowing that, hey, I got to pitch because I got this dude behind me that's throwing 100 miles an hour and is ready to go? What's that? That tells me when I go out, I better give him 100%. So I think they're all kind of playing off that.
Who clinches first? The Cubs, the Dodgers, or the A's?
That's a great question. I think clinches playoffs is probably still the Dodgers. Clinches division is the Cubs.
Okay.
Because go ahead.
Do you think any other team in the NL Central finishes above 500 other than Chicago?
I think Cincinnati toils. I think they get just over because of their pitching. I think that when it comes down to it, you're talking, just like you said with St. Louis having to play doubleheaders and 7-inning games.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing a 7-inning game for Cincinnati and you could throw Bauer, you could throw Gray, and you could throw Castillo, you can shorten those games real damn quick, Arnie Jones. Real quick. And Bauer's already came out and said he's willing to pitch on 4 days rest. I'm sure that Gray and Castillo wouldn't necessarily be against that as well. That changes things.
Close the show with this. And we'll come back to this next Tuesday night. Trade deadline's not that far away. We're getting ready to see a difference between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
Who do you foresee being the big trade chip? And I'll first start with a pitcher. I've got one in mind. Who is a pitcher that may get traded to a contender in the next few weeks? a starting pitcher?
I think it's going to take a lot to get him, but I think if the right team throws the right prospects at the Texas Rangers, I think Lance Lynn is someone that could change. Put Lance Lynn on the Cubs. That changes everything.
Exactly.
I think Lance Lynn is the number one guy that I can think of. I don't know. It's going to be real hard because everybody kind of feels like they're in it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Rockies. Because a guy like German Marquez is really interesting to me, Arnie.
Mm-hmm. How valuable is Johnny Cueto in a trade?
Oh, I talked about him earlier.
I know you did.
He is he looks like the Cueto from the Reds. He's lost a mile an hour or two, and that's fine. But the other things that he does as a poised veteran pitcher now makes up for that. I've seen him pitch 2 of the 3 times this year, and he's been lights out for both. He had a no-hitter going against the Dodgers the other night into the 6th inning. And Hunter Pence just blatantly missed that ball because he lost it in the lights. So, I mean, 1, it tells you how quickly things can turn when you're playing the Dodgers. But 2, it tells you where Johnny Cueto is as a pitcher. So he's absolutely another option. I agree.
I think he's going to Atlanta.
They need him.
That's just my thought.
Hey,
Chappy, it's that time of day when you can say
it
was a great show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my great friend.
Love it, as always.
And so we're going to be back with you guys next Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. I want to thank you for watching us, getting us over that 1,000 viewership. It happened, Chappy. We had a show that had over 1,000 viewers.
Cheers.
I love it. So send us questions. You guys that made comments tonight, from King Hap to Kevin Hastings. Thank you guys for chatting in. I'm even behind here, but it's good to see you guys have pitched in. Chappy, have a good night. I'll talk to you next Tuesday, buddy. How about that?
All right, brother. Take care, guys. Thanks for joining.
Good night, everybody.